Gene Bull. Hey, friend. Okay, here's your first Headless Manny video. What did we cover today? The first thing that we did was we organized a few of your chords around the key of E. So I want you to start with E minor and play it this way with your second finger on the A string and your ring finger on the D string. We talked a bit about rhythms. We talked about the backbeat rhythm being a focus on the low notes in a downstroke pattern. These are eighth notes, 1 and 2. But we want to accent the 2 and the 4, which we call the backbeat, and that's the snare drum, like this. 1 and 2 and 3. Simply by adding strings, a tiny bit more dynamic, but not a ton. Okay. The other strum pattern we talked about was a shuffle pattern where you play the root on the downstroke and then you follow it with an upstroke like this. Root, up, root, up, root, up. Okay, but then we made it a bit more complicated to play Paint It Black, which was this. Root up, 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 root up, up. I see a rectangle. Root up, up, up. So those are two new rhythms you can try with this chord or really any of the chords you work on. So then we paired them with logically corresponding chords. So E minor, shift this down and add your first finger on the B string, that's A minor. Excuse me. That's the fourth chord of your scale. So you want to practice E minor to A minor. When it's really cozy, try to do one of your rhythms, like your backbeat. The A chord starts on the 5th string, not the 6th string. Now we want to incorporate the 5th chord of the scale, which is a B7. So ring finger down 1, plug the gap with your first finger, and then pinky on the high E string. So now take some time to go from E to B7, E minor to B7. And these are the actual changes from Paint It Black. So you could do I see a rental and I want it painted black. No colors anymore, I want them to turn black. We digressed on the B7 and I showed you the cowboy chord rhythm. So if you separate the root out on the 5th string and then do a downstroke on the chord, you get this pattern. But if you alternate the bass from the A string to the E string, you get a more fun pattern. Try adding an upstroke like this. This is just a real standard country move. And you mentioned that you wanted to hear this moving. You could experiment. This is not the typical way to do it, but you could move it up to the 7th fret. You could even get creative with it. Move it to the 5th fret. Or even the 3rd fret. A little dissonant, but that's fine. And back to B7. So that's a digression, but there's some interesting things there to explore. So then you want to put it all together. E minor, A minor, E minor, B7. This is what we call a cadence, which is a short progression that gives a sense of completion. And usually, it's grouping the 3 main chords of a key together, which are the 1st chord of the scale, the 4th chord of the scale, and the 5th. That's why we always hear the cliche 1-4-5. This is a 1-4-5 progression. And then if you convert the E and the A to major chords, you've shifted to the key of E major. So that's E major, same exact E minor, but with the first finger on the G string. And then you know your A well. And then E and B. This is our cadence in the key of E major. So you could try one of your patterns. A, E. This is a lot of songs that you'll recognize, obviously. And over time, we're going to do that in all of the main 5 keys that guitar players love. Which follow our open strings, and they're the keys of E, A, D, G, plus C, which we don't have a C string, of course. So that was how we organized your open notes. Then we talked a little bit about a very simple scale called a major scale, but it's, in my parlance, it's an extended scale. That means it's stretched all the way across a single string. So you start with the even numbers, and then you switch to odd. So it's open, 2, 4, and then odd. 5, 7, 9, 12. 12 is the golden fret. That's why there's 2 dots on most guitars, distinguishing it from the others. It's your octave fret. E, E, A, D, E, and so forth. You can play the scale in ascending and descending patterns on all 6 strings. But what we're most concerned about is playing parallel fifths, or commonly known as power chords. So for your open E power chord, the open E string and the A string at 2. And you want to practice just hitting 2 strings. And you trace the scale. 2, 4, 5. This power chord shape is universal. 2 fret span, adjacent strings. And as you get better, you don't have to linger on each chord so long. You can go. This is movable. You can just shift down. Now you're playing open A, D string, 2nd fret. Still just 2 strings. Play the same scale. Open, 2, 4, 5. And you're going to start hearing a lot of songs. I think the car song has to go. I don't mind you coming here, wasting all my time. You could experiment with that if you start to feel ambitious. It's 7, 2, 4, so all from the scale I just played, and then low E string at the 4th fret. When you're standing oh so near, I kinda lose my mind, yeah, etc. But we'll be able to digress on many, many songs. You can do that in the key of D as well, tracing the same pattern. It's different in D, but it's interesting. And then we apply these to a couple simple songs. Come Together is in D. And I showed you what's called a 5/6 pattern, but it's a standard blues rock pattern, which is you go from the 2nd to the 4th fret, 2 beats on each, typically, but there's many variations on this. So then shift up and try it in A. And then try it in E. This is like rock and roll 101. It's fun, it sounds cool, it's not that hard, and it's used all over the place. Which we saw, case in point, without even thinking about it, examples popped into our lesson. Come Together is in D and plays this forever. Here comes flat top, here comes grooving up slowly. When your ear hears that a change is coming, you just shift up to A. Spinal cracker, he got A. Feet down below his knees. Now I gave you a standard G chord, but it's more like the song to play a G power chord at the 3rd fret. So you have 3 and 5. Got to be good looking 'cause he's so hard to see. And back. So that's a little excerpt from Come Together. And then we did an excerpt from Get Back, which starts with the A5 chord. These are called 5 chords because it's a perfect fifth. That's the interval. It's just 2 notes. So power chord and a 5 chord are synonyms. So there you go. Open A and then D string, 2nd fret. So Get Back, we do the A riff, the blues riff, 4 times. Jojo was a man who thought he... And then in the reverse of the other song, you shift down to D for 2 and then back to A for 2. Then the whole pattern will repeat on A. So it's Jojo was a man who thought he was a loner, but knew it couldn't last. Jojo left his home